Hi, I'm Elizabeth Fry. I'm from Christchurch, Hailsham. I'm 18 years old and I decided to do the gap year because I thought what CRI was doing was quite interesting. I found the part, especially at enabling education, to be really interesting because I think that's quite empowering, especially now that I've been to Liberia and met people who can't write, can't read, and so it's made me really realise how important education is to children and just to people in general. I also find the idea of going abroad for a bit quite interesting because I thought I wanted to experience another community and culture that isn't our own and just have a different experience of our own Western lifestyle.
So, Beth, can you tell us how beneficial this year has been in terms of understanding other cultures?
I found it quite beneficial to learn how other people with additional needs are treated in different cultures, because I often come in from a perspective of a Western mindset of, we're accepting, everyone's accepted nowadays, but actually when I went to Liberia I learned not everyone's accepted in these cultures, so it's been quite eye-opening.
Can you tell us a bit more about your trip and why you decided to go to Liberia?
How I ended up in Liberia is kind of ironic. So it actually started February, I think, 2024. A guy came up to me at my youth retreat and said, I have a word for you. And I was like, okay. And he was like, basically, I feel like you're going to be washing people's feet. And I was a bit confused because I was like, okay. But then actually when Emma was describing Liberia to me, he said it'd be like washing people's feet. And I was like, that's where I'm supposed to go. So that's how I ended up there. So the Liberia project is his safe haven, and basically they help care and look after children with additional needs because they believe they're demon possessed or demons, so they often try to kill them or they abuse them and they quite severely neglect them and stuff, so it's quite actually horrible what they do to the children out there. But this village actually rescues them, they give them a foster ma, they give them siblings, they look after them in therapy and stuff, and it just really promotes and encourages the children, which is really special.
And how do you feel personally, how do you feel you've developed and perhaps changed since your trip?
I feel it's definitely made me appreciate how God has blessed me throughout my life, and it's really made me appreciate just basic things like being able to read my Bible, being able to always know, just also always knowing God. That's always been really nice. It's really made me actually realise how, I think the word's versatile, isn't it? When God's quite it's easy enough for a child with additional needs who they can't even comprehend fully to understand and praise God, even though they've been through this suffering, but it's also easy enough for an intellectual to understand, so that's been quite interesting to see.
Do you feel that experience has increased your confidence in terms of travelling further on another trip alone potentially, or?
Yeah, I think it's made me less nervous because when I first did it, I was just thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and then when I actually did it, it was fine. So I was like, it's not actually as complicated as I thought it would be. So that was quite nice. But once I actually arrived in Liberia, it was very smooth sailing. As soon as I got into his safe haven, I just absolutely loved it. And when I met all the children, I just loved all of them. They were just the sweetest people. So.
Okay, before we finish, is there anything else you would like to add, to say?
Yeah, I think if you really want to improve on your relationship with God, I found that my relationship with God's a lot deeper now, and I found that it's really there's been quite a few parts that have challenged me, but it's helped me to grow. I think I really struggle with public speaking and stuff like that, but actually I spoke, this is going to sound a bit crazy, but I spoke in a staff prayer meeting that has for a couple of minutes, and there's only 15 people in there, but if I did that at the beginning of the year, I just wouldn't have been able to do it. But I literally did it 2 weeks ago and I was able to speak for a few minutes, so I found that quite helpful, especially as that's something that you can't really avoid later on in life, so.